Admiral Preparedness here. Welcome aboard, new subscribers. Thank you for coming back, my current subscribers. You know, when you talk about SHTF events, um, we all have our different reasons for doing what we do to make preparations for that event. Current events dictate a higher sense of, I won't say urgency, but you look around today, and the United States is certainly doing a whole lot better than the rest of the planet Earth is when it comes to social justice, civil order, and just the American way of life. But every time you turn around, if you got your eyes open and your ear to the track, you start seeing a difference. Now, being in my upper 50s, going into my 60s by the end of this year, when you look at your senior citizens and you sit down, and if you have an opportunity to talk to them, they've seen a whole lot. Some of these folks who are out there right now have seen the advent of a plane, the advent of energy. Uh, they've seen small little corner grocery shops turn into mega stores where they could purchase a cornucopia of items in our consumer oriented world we now live in. I remember as a child watching Bewitched and that TV show where the husband was an advertising executive, and then within the TV show you would sit and watch these ads where a little boy would be sitting there eating tomato soup and a cartoon character would march across the screen promoting that soup. Or you would watch another show that was entertaining depending on the time of day. Most of these shows were produced live. Today, it's everything's recorded and then highly edited, and all the special effects have been added. So you really don't know. And then the movie came out, Wag the Dog, and then you didn't know. I mean, we sat there in the theater, and it was amazing when we walked out. The few days later, we sat there and went, with the way um, the media has gone, you don't know what's real out there. You could sit there and think that on the other side of the ocean, there's a great, a war going on that doesn't really or isn't really happening. Now you have these folks out there on the YouTube and on the computer and on the internet who, I mean to tell you, I've watched one the other day where they're still thinking we didn't go to the moon. We didn't go to the moon. It's all been made up. I sat in a planetarium once looking at one of the largest telescopes I'd ever seen, and it was when it was trained on the surface of the moon. I could actually see the lunar rover tracks from that lens, from that vantage point of where I was standing. Folks, when the term fake news was coined during the current political environment we're living in, now it's hard to tell what's real news and what's fake news. Now I've been proposing, anytime I can put my fingers to a keyboard in social media, suggesting that maybe we have airline pilots who have to have a license. We have doctors who need licenses. We need lawyers, of crying out loud, have to have a license. We have, in order to get married, you have to have a marriage license. I mean, for crying out loud, there's licensing for everything other than journalism. How about now we require journalists, once they've gone through their schooling to be a journalist. I don't care if it's working for a rag like the Inquirer or the Wall Street Journal or the LA Times or the Washington Post. From now on, you need to have a license to practice telling the truth. If you lie, you lose your license. If you want to be in a fiction, then you put it in the fiction part of a newspaper. But nobody has ever sat down and lied about a football game's final score. Nobody does that. It's either A team or B team won or lost the game. such and such a driver won that race, such and such a golfer won that tournament. You don't hear about somebody coming to the finish line during a foot race and they lied at who won. Even Hitler couldn't lie about Jesse Owens winning during the 1939 Olympics, or 36, 39. I forget, but when you just don't lie to the public in a newspaper. It's why it's called a newspaper. It's not called the lie of the day. It's called the newspaper. Bear with me, folks. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit irritated by what I'm seeing on the boob tube nowadays. Matter of fact, I turn it off most of the time and watch something else that's more entertaining than the news. But let's get back to what I was discussing here. Let's pretend like, tomorrow the water stopped. You're sitting at home, your job called, and if they were able to call and said, don't come in, there's no need because our product no longer, or our service is no longer needed. And your landlord walked up and went, stay here. I don't want your money. I got my $1 million home I'm living in. I'm going to go home with my kids and my family, and we'll try to get through this together, but don't worry. You just stay put. Just keep the place from being destroyed, and that'd be your cause to be able to live there. Because if you move or vacate that property right now during this SHT event, somebody's going to come in and vandalize it, probably burn it to the ground. So just stay put. So pretend like you're in your home, your domicile, your apartment, matter of fact, let's just say you're in your refrigerator box because you had to go. And you stink. You really smell bad because it's 105 degrees outside and you're staying hydrated, but you're sweating like a pig because the work detail they've got you on makes you sweat like you've never seen a day ever happen in your life. But you can't get to water sources because they control that like they control everything else. So what I've done is decided to go ahead and stock up on a product that I could find for about $1.17 per pouch, which has 8 wipes. Now these are extra large bath wipes. You could use these to clean yourself from stem to stern, top to bottom. Start with the parts of your body that don't get the dirtiest, and then when you get to the part that's the stinky part, then this is when you can dispose of it. Or what I suggest you do is put it underground because it is biodegradable. What's nice about this product is you can reuse it, but if you put on your stinky, you're not going to want to reuse it. Now, what I've suggested everybody do is, I know these are expensive, and I don't want to hear somebody say, well, you're wasting your money, but if I leave this out, eventually the seal here is not perfect. It's a peelable seal. As you can see, you peel it. Now that's exposed to the moisture of the towel. Now, if you put it back, that'll only last for a certain period of time. So you take this guy here. Of course, you have this is one of the first versions of this vacuum system that came out. And what I do is I'll get these guys ready to go. Now, always get them by the quantity. Now, what I like to do on these guys is the double seal. It's just a precaution that I like to take. Now what I do is I'll do these in a pack of 3 only because they fit. Now at Walmart, these boxes are being sold for about $11. Right now a few months ago I stocked up on them, so I really don't need to be buying any more of them. But you can find these being sold separately as a way to go. Now, as you can tell, it now has a 2 seal, so there's double line there. The only way that this is going to break a seal is if somebody comes along and cuts it. Now the best way to do this is to pre-measure so you don't waste your dollars. You push down, you've got this much excess, which is fine. These bags can be reused, which is kind of nice. It doesn't matter how they go in, vacuum plethora seal first or your thin side up first. Doesn't matter, just as long as you get them in. A little bit more room than I anticipated, but it's how it's done. I don't date these because there's really no reason. It's just one of those things. It's not food. Now, if you notice, it takes just a little bit for the vacuum to start pulling it in. A lot of air in there. The sound changes as it gets more and more of a vacuum. And you wait a few seconds for that heating element to cool. And there's your first line of defense. Now I always do a second line, so I know I can feel confident that I'm going to have a good seal. And then you wait a few seconds, and there you go, folks. Now you have a double seal on your vacuum packed disposable body wipes. Now these body wipes, being thick, extra thick as they are, the dimensions on these guys are, as it says, 8" by 8", so 8 square. Now with that 8" by 8", you could pretty much clean your face, the back of your neck, around your ears. You could do your arms. You can do your legs. Then you can start working on your armpit. Get both armpits. Then you can start working on your front and your rear. Now, there's 8 to a package. That's why I did 3 at a time. Because if you usually going to be traveling with somebody else, but they don't weigh very much. They're excellent per unit for a bug out bag, but I wouldn't recommend putting these in your vehicle unless you've got them sealed, because the heat's going to cause this to expand, and eventually the seal will break, and then you're just wasting your money. They're fine when they're not. When I've had these before, and I let one stay out. I wish I'd had it to show you, but it got completely dried out and was pretty much just a towelette. The fragrance was still there, because these do have a fragrance. They do make some that are hypoallergenic, that don't have the fragrance. These are perfect for your needs when you need them. No water required. I like these for the fact that 8" by 8" is definitely good enough for me to do my job. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Any new subscribers will be welcomed. Admiral Preparedness, have a great day.